Jesus lays out to us the steps for us to go through to handle this matter of sin being brought to us. Rather than telling Harry about Jim, we go and talk to Jim. What a novel idea. This is amazing. Look with me. Step 1. Jesus said this: if your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault between you and him alone. Tell him. This isn't gender specific. This is not sex specific. This is a him and a her, both, between you and him, you and her, depending on who it is. Just the two of you. Go and talk to him. Well, why is it then we go and talk to Mary about Janice and Harry about Jim? Why do we do that? Why is that so natural to us? As a matter of fact, there's been situations where I have had someone come to me and say, "Did you tell him that to his face?" I said, "Yeah. It was between." Yeah. And they're totally flabbergasted that we would do that. Why is it that we tend to go there rather than joining Jesus in what he's doing and go to the person? The Lord's direction then, get this, kind of goes against the way we're going to feel on this and what we have seen others do and where our natural tendency is going to go. And we have to swallow hard and go talk to the person. If the person listens to you, God's won, it's done. What a deal. I like this. If he listens to you, he says, you've won your brother. You've gained your brother. Not that you got the upper hand, but God won on this. This is a gain. Mark that down. If, he says, and here's the other option, because there are two options, and this is our climate, that there is another option here. If he doesn't listen, then step 2. Next step. Step 2. Take 2 or 3 witnesses along with you. Look what Jesus says. Verse 16. If he does not listen, we've established that, that's the option. Take 1 or 2 others along with you, that every charge, every word may be established by the evidence of 2 or 3 witnesses. So you take 2 or 3 witnesses that go along. You, 2 other people, makes 3. You, 1 other, make sure it's reliable. So 3. Now, there's a purpose behind this. The purpose, he says, is to establish the charge. It's not that these were witnesses of the sin against you. What these are witnesses of is the interaction that takes place between you and the person who sinned against you. That the charge is, yeah, well, that's a valid charge. And the response, well, yeah, that's the response that took place. And the witnesses see the interaction that takes place. It's not that they saw the sin against you. It is that they witnessed the interaction that takes place so that the charge can be seen. Yeah, well, that's a biblical issue. It's not about wearing tennis shoes and shorts rather than dress pants. It's not that. It is about it is about a lie. It is about a defrauding. It is about a biblical issue. Charge is established. Response is established. Hey, look, if they listen to the person, 1 done. Say this with me. 1 done. If they listen to the person, it's a 1 case for God, and it's a done deal. Now, I want you to know that most of the issues of sin in the church are able to be handled with this. I want you to know many are. Step 1 and step 2, when the person's won, God gets the victory, it's a done deal. Many. Thank God for that. Matter of fact, many of the cases of this taking place are never known. Should be. Matter of fact, the nature of my sinfulness, this should well happen to me on a weekly basis. That somebody comes to me and talks to me. And generally, it does. It's very important that we be open on this. Bear this in mind, that the commandment of God is a lamp. And the teaching that He has for us in this and on other things of life is light. That's very important when we're in a dark place, right? That we have a lamp and light. Isn't that the case? Very, very important. Because I get up early quite frequently, I don't turn on the lights a lot. And I have to think really hard where I'm at to avoid stubbing my toe or kicking something. And I become well pleased when somebody has left something in the hallway that I get to meet on the dark morning. Okay? So, we talk about that. So, this thing about God's directions and God's commandments, they're lights and lamps for this dark place that we're going through, darker than your mornings are before the sunrise. And, he says, and the reproofs with the commandment and the teaching, proofs of the are the way of life. Bear this in mind. For others to reprove you is the way of life. Say this with me. For others to reprove me is the way of life. Now, did you notice how I changed that? Because it's me. For others, say this with me, to reprove me is the way of life. We're going to do it one more time. Join in with me. For others to reprove me is the way of life. This is getting with Jesus. This is joining Him in what He's doing. This is the way of life. That we have these reproofs that come to us, and we, like wisdom from above, entreat these and are, as James 3 says, willing to yield on this. Willing to yield. I am beefing up the muscle of the church for the climate we're in. We need to receive a reproof and be willing to yield because the wisdom of God says this is the way of life. Amen? How do you handle when somebody comes to you and tells you a fault? It's the way of life. Memorize this proverb. Quote it to yourselves if your emotion goes somewhere else. And my emotion goes somewhere else sometimes. Then do this. Because we need this on a daily basis. These two witnesses coming, and most are one. It's a done deal. But there is this option. If he or she refuses to listen to them. Does that happen? Okay. It happens. It happens a whole bunch more often than I like. Matter of fact, I personally wish I never had to go through them not listening. Amen? I wish I personally never had to go through me not listening. But we got to work through it. We have to work through it with the brother. Because God says it's like 99, 100 sheep. I lost that one. I'm going after him. We've got to work through it. That's the context. God is so concerned about this. If he or she doesn't listen to these. Next step, step 3. Here's step 3. Inform the church. Look at what Jesus said here. If he refuses, verse 17, to listen to them, tell it to the church. Now, this does not mean that you go out and you tell all the horrible things the person has done to you. It doesn't mean that you recount their sin to them. That's not what this is about. What this is about is you come to the church and says, there is an issue that's arisen between us. It is a matter of sin. I have gone to them and I've told them. I've taken so-and-so who are here with me. And did we talk to them? Was this an issue? Did they listen? So I'm telling you, and the purpose I'm telling you for is to pray and to appeal as you can to them. To pray and to appeal as you can, because I want you to know that sometimes when a believer is on the run, let's see, have we ever heard of a believer on the run before? What happens when God confronts someone and they run, they hide, they blame shift, and they come? Have we ever heard of that before? Where? Yeah. Jonah, she says, even before then. Garden of Eden. And who was that? Adam and Eve. God confronts them on a sin. What did they do? Run, hide, blame shift, cover up. That's exactly what they did. That is exactly what they did. So when you're dealing with a believer, and there may well be a tendency for them to run, hide, blame shift, and cover up. I had a pastor who was very experienced who told me on this, there is no one who can so successfully muddy the waters as a believer who's choosing to stay in sin. They will make this thing so very, very murky that you kind of lose direction on this. Well, that doesn't mean we can always appeal to them. Because sometimes in their hiding, we can't find them. I don't know where they are. We go to talk to them, and we can't reach them. What's the church to do? The church is to pray and appeal as we can. If they listen, I want you to know, we do this here. We have done this here. We have had folks at this stage who listened and are still in connection with the fellowship. Why? Because they heard God won and it's done. It's done. But I also want you to know that there are some who, even at this stage, don't want to go where Jesus is and join him in what he's doing. So we, like children, call to him, go to him, so he can model using us in this place to show what it is to join him in what he's doing. Final step here. If they refuse to hear the church, that the church is saying, this is not biblical where we're going. This is not a biblical action. If they refuse to listen to the church, then let him be to you a Gentile and a tax collector. If they refuse to listen, this is written in code, be to you, verse 17, a Gentile, meaning they're acting like somebody who's not a believer at all, and a tax collector, meaning somebody who has become a turncoat by going with something else or something that they want. Folks, that is the steps we go through. It's not the aim to put the person out, although that has to be. The aim is to bring them back. That's the aim. Because God is so concerned that He leaves 99, goes out for one. So we need to join Him in what He's doing, 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 in what He's doing.